Ever notice how the best childhood memories never needed much space? No big houses, no fancy stuff, just moments. Grilled cheese tastes anyway better out here. The whole day unfolds around the fire, talking, laughing, doing nothing and everything. Lunch comes straight off the grill, a little messy, a little chaotic, but that's the point. Life's not perfect, there's even an outhouse, but somehow that makes it feel more real. Inside, that's playing cards, turning something simple into a core memory. By the water, mom and daughter fish in silence, the kind that says everything. Even the dog knows, this is a good life. And when the day ends, everyone drifts back to the fire, finding their way to the same place. Because it was never about the space. So let's turn this feeling into a build. As the next idea of what to do during the springtime as part of our mini-series, I was thinking what was I doing when I was a kid, and I loved going to the forest, taking the sausages and then bake them or cook them at the fire. We were definitely not having this super trailer which I'm building here because we had like forest nearby. I'm from the city, the trailer would be somehow inconvenient to have, but it was not needed. However, here I wanted to build it, and I even think you can pass it for a micro home if you have a tiny living. I've placed there everything your sim might need, and I place outside everything your sim will need to be able to have a great camping time. I've built it on a diagonal, which is a little bit tricky and was a little tricky by trying to get in, but I managed, and during the playtest everything works as it should, so you can totally live here with your sim. I've also used base game only, so you can definitely download this and then you can adjust it as you wish. You can put there whatever you would like. And maybe you're asking yourself, if it's a base game only, how come there were tents and how come there were like items which do not look base game only? And that's because I was using a gallery where the items are stored after the event called the sessions. I made a short about it, so make sure to check the link down below in case you haven't seen it. Then you can have a tent, you can have so many items with this just by downloading it off the gallery. From the color scheme, I also used this bold red color. I don't know what came into me, you will very rarely see me using something red because it's so dominant. But for the trailer, somehow this is how I'm imagining it. I know they are usually white, but I think I've seen also the red trailers. I've never owned one, I've never been in one, so if I did it completely ridiculous, feel free to leave a comment. I'm not gonna be offended, I will be happy to read how it should look like or what should have been done maybe differently. However, how I've built it seemed okay to me, and when I was playtesting, it was so much fun actually being in it and playing in it. And you really don't need anything else than what is already there. And if you will turn it into a micro home, you will have all these perks what a tiny living is bringing to the table when you have this DLC. So if you will have like crops, or I don't know, if you will have plants, they will grow faster. Your needs, your negative needs will decay slower, I think. Your relationships will grow faster. So this is actually a great place as a starter home. Granted, it costs 30,000, so it's 10,000 higher than the standard starter home. I have no clue where did the money go. Maybe on the fancy TV, which I put inside. I have really no clue. But the gameplay is up to you, right? So you can just download the lot of the gallery and you can delete this fancy TV, or you can delete actually whatever you would like to delete. If you have a tiny home, you can put there completely different furniture. But now you see me trying to furnish this little trailer which I made. I firstly tried to place there somehow. I wanted to really have there a double bed, but it was not fitting in no way it was there. So I replaced it for a bunk bed because it has more space underneath, and for a small tiny space like this I think it was fitting way better. Plus I also wanted to have a bathroom because I know in the trailers there is a bathroom, for sure I know. And there is also a mini fridge which I got as a reward from the event, so I think if you were not participating in this reward you don't have it. I'm not sure if you can find it off the gallery, but if not, you can still put there a normal fridge if this is an issue, or just don't have any fridge for that matter. You can also cook outside on the grill, and if you have additional DLCs, then I think you can even cook on the fire if you will make one. But if you have everything what I just placed there, the kitchen is fully functional and it would work. What could not be said about the bathroom though? I really wanted to put there everything in this small tiny little bathroom, and I think I would be able to if I would not make it diagonal. But because I did, I think this is somehow messing up with the game. So at the end, during the playtesting, I had to put away the sink which is there. But it's not a big deal because you have sink right in the kitchen, so it's not that far away if you would need to use it. I know in the real life and the realism of it is really messy not to have the sink directly in the bathroom. Like, you will definitely not use the shower to wash your hands. However, because we are in The Sims, I think this is totally acceptable. I was also trying to place a bunch of activities which you can do as a family inside of the trailer, because I remember the time when there were no smartphones and how wonderful it was just to sit and play the easy game of the cards. However, I've placed there also console for those of you who don't remember how to place this basic games. So there is also console you can play on this fancy TV which I placed there. I also put there bookshelves so your sim can also read. You know, now retrospectively, I'm astonished and surprised how much I actually fit inside of this small little space, because beside all the activities which I mentioned already, beside the basic needs which are there, I've placed there also these small little bookshelves which is normally for the babies, but it was fitting so nicely above the bed. I've placed there also some clutter, and even with all this clutter, your sim can still have plenty of space for there to cook. But with that, I think more or less we are through with furnishing the interior, and now we can move outside into the forest, the part which I wanted to furnish the most, because we are in the woods, we are going to camp, so I wanted to have definitely a bonfire, I wanted to have chairs around it. The base game is offering this bonfire. Unfortunately, you cannot really cook on it. I think this comes with the other DLCs. I know the horse range. You can then roast the marshmallows or something. With the island living, I think there is a pit where you can cook. So it's still a base game, yes, so it's not 100% exactly everything, but I did my best. And I'm telling you, you will not be missing it because you can cook anywhere else in this lot. And around the fire, of course, I also placed a couple of tents. Maybe you are questioning, why am I doing it when I have already a trailer, there is already a bed. But if you realize there is just one bed, and I wanted to have plenty of Sims or the Sim taking their kids with them. So yes, you can sleep upstairs and then downstairs you can nap, but we all know that in the game, your Sim will not be really rested when he will nap only on the sofa, and they will be really rested if they will use the tents. Plus, it looked completely amazing on this lot, especially since it was about camping anyway. I also illuminated the space with the string lights because I think they were fitting nicely there. In the night it's really beautiful, especially when the bonfire is on. And I placed around the bonfire also a couple of chairs and the guitars around, because this is how I remember when I was going camping into the kids camp. Then we had these evenings where we were singing, and at least for me this was so much fun. I'm a terrible singer though, but with so many voices that were singing at once, you could never hear me, and I could have just so much fun. And during the day I was imagining if I would be there with my siblings, we could just chase, we could just play in the woods. When I was a kid, I was creating myself a map. I burned it around that it will look more real, it will look more mysterious, more something that I found somewhere, and based on this map we will then treasure hunting the treasure which we just hid somewhere, and then the sibling had to find it or my parents had to find it. It was so much fun, and I was trying to put this into this build, so I hope you also have this feeling. Let me know in the comments if you were doing these activities and what memories you had, because that would be so interesting to share. And before we will go to the tours, I just want to mention, because you might see me trying to fit there a pond. At the end I didn't, because I built this in Bringleton Bay at the lot which has a pond nearby. However, if you will download it and there is no pond, you can totally place it there is a space for it. But with that said, we are through with the build. You can find it on the gallery. My name is just Hamsbums there. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of the day and see you next time. Bye bye!